Today, I want to answer a question that I get a lot from both clients and subscribers. And the question is, why does my ex seem to hate me so much? Where is all of this animosity and negativity coming from? Am I that bad of a guy? Do I really deserve all of this animosity? Your ex's hatred can be a powerful force. Not only does it hurt, right? It feels bad to have somebody that you once loved, who once loved you, be expressing so much anger and frustration and downright hatred at you. It feels horrible. But it can also affect other relationships. Maybe you have mutual friends, maybe you have family, maybe you have children together. Their animosity, their hatred towards you can leak into a lot of areas of your life, and it can be really confusing, really hurtful, and it can leave you feeling stuck, like you can't really fully move on from your divorce as long as she hates you for it. My goal today is to help you understand why she hates you so much, because the truth is it actually has nothing to do with you. And you're going to see that really clearly. And once you see that, it's going to change the way you react to all of that negativity coming from her. And when you change the way you react, it's also going to change the way you interact with your friends, with your family, with your children. It's going to help you find peace, help you find forgiveness, and help you start to move on, even if she continues to feel hatred towards you. As always, if you find these videos helpful, please subscribe, please like the video, and feel free to leave me a note in the comments. I'm here for you. I want to make this as useful and helpful and supportive as I can. So your comments, your questions are so welcomed. Let's get into it. Why does your ex hate you? I am going to speak mostly to the men out there because those are the people I primarily work with, and because I see something rather unique happening to men after divorce. Often, not always, but often, about 70 to 80% of the time, it's the woman who initiates the divorce. And then through the divorce process, she often expresses a lot of animosity, a lot of hatred, and lays a lot of blame on her partner. Now, your ex might be the one who chose the divorce. Maybe she's the one who filed. But who's at fault? She's got a choice. Either it's her or it's you. Either she's to blame for ruining your marriage, for the failure of your marriage. She's to blame for the divorce, or you are. Most of us get stuck in this way of thinking that there's one of two choices. Either it's my fault or it's his fault. And I can tell you what, if it's my fault, that's pretty uncomfortable. To be responsible for the failure of a marriage, to be responsible for ruining a relationship, for breaking up a family. We took vows. We made a commitment, better or worse. Death do us part. That's a huge thing to be responsible for the end of. It's painful. It's not something we want to think about. It makes us question what's wrong with us. Why couldn't we make this work? Is there something, am I not lovable enough? Am I not strong enough? Am I not committed enough? Am I not good enough to make this work? Right? If it's my fault, I've got to face all of those doubts, all of those insecurities, all of those fears. It's incredibly uncomfortable. And I really don't want to be blamed for it. And I certainly don't want other people to blame me for it. I don't want my friends, my family, my children to look at me and say, wow, you're the asshole in this situation. You're the one who ruined this marriage. It's much better if it's your fault. It's much better if it's your fault, not my fault. That's where this hatred comes from. Your ex doesn't hate you. They need you to be at fault for the failure of your marriage, because the alternative is too painful, it's too difficult to deal with. They believe that it's got to be them or you. Somebody's at fault. We know that this is an oversimplification. They know that too, but emotionally, there's a me or him feeling. There's a somebody's to blame ultimately, and there's a need to justify the choice. This is where I think this happens a little bit differently for men than for women, because the partner who files for the divorce has a stronger need to justify the breakup. They chose it. They're the one who chose to end it. So they need a really good reason to justify that choice if they don't want to be the asshole in their own minds and the way other people see them. So humans, the way our brains work, the way human psychology works, we use stories to make sense of our lives, to make sense of this weird and wacky world we live in, to make sense of our relationships. So your ex has to choose a story. They chose to end this marriage. What is their story about that going to be? What's the story they tell themselves? What's the story they tell the rest of the world? Because she wanted something different. Maybe she has to face the fact that she didn't want to be married to you. She didn't want to live the same lifestyle you want to live. Maybe she didn't want to do the work. to work through her own issues and through yours and meet you where you are. The truth is that that's okay. You guys, it's okay to break up. It's okay to get divorced. It is a human construct. It is a made up idea. It is vows that we wrote that say it's not okay. And we internalize that and we really believe it. And we believe we have to justify to ourselves and absolutely to the world that we're not the bad guy. But it's all an illusion. Nobody's the bad guy. Nobody's at fault. All that's happened in a divorce is that we've got two people with two human brains and two human hearts and a whole lifetime of history, of beliefs, of thoughts, of feelings, of habitual emotional reactions. We've got two people, all of this stuff, not to mention some biology that affects us, some hormones and some evolution in our nervous systems and perhaps past trauma. Two people with all of this stuff trying to find each other, trying to connect, trying to communicate. And the fact is that we're never really taught to communicate well. We're not really taught how to manage our emotions. We're not taught how to have vulnerable conversations. These are the things we should be teaching in school, are the skills to manage our own emotional experience and to connect intimately and authentically with other people. But we're not taught that stuff. In fact, if anything in school, we're often taught the opposite. We're taught to play games. We're taught to deceive. We're taught to actually manipulate other people's emotions. That's what we learn, especially in middle school. Oh my gosh. You guys, we don't have the skills. We're never taught. Our parents usually don't know how. And then you have two people who don't know how to manage their own shit and don't know how to connect authentically, don't know how to take the risks, how to be vulnerable, how to reach out and respond. And we don't know how to be with somebody else in their emotional pain. It's another thing we're not taught. Is it any wonder that so many of us struggle to connect? This divorce isn't your fault and it's not her fault. The divorce is because you didn't have the skills to deal with your own shit, connect to her, be vulnerable with each other, and support each other through all of that emotional chaos that's been created throughout a lifetime. That's it. That's not your fault. That's not her fault. But because we have these vows, because we have to justify not being in this relationship anymore, because we have to justify the fact that we want something else, that it was too hard, that it's not the work we want to do in our lives right now, it's not the lifestyle we want to have, we end up hating each other. And often it is stronger on the woman's side because she's the one who filed for divorce. She chose it. She better justify that decision. She's got to justify that divorce. And the easiest way to do that is to hate you. This is not a conscious decision. This is what she's doing to survive this choice without hating herself, without alienating her friends and family, without confronting the fact that perhaps she's broken up her family because she wants something else. And that's it. And maybe she does love you. And maybe she has a role to play in this. And she's choosing that the work necessary to fix this relationship isn't the work she wants to do in this life. That is a really hard thing for most of us to confront. We think we need a much better reason. How do you deal with this? How do you react to it? The truth is, it's not her fault. It's not your fault. And there is no need to justify this decision. But it's also not your job to tell her any of that. She's allowed to hate you. I know that sucks, right? But she is. And she's allowed to have that story. You can't change that story. That's something that's really important to accept. You can't change the story she's telling. You can't make her tell a different story. She's committed to it. What you can do is start looking at her with compassion, because now you know why she's telling that story. She thinks she has to. She thinks the only alternative is that she's a horrible person. We know the truth. We know she's not a horrible person, and we know you're not either. We know that you're two human beings with all of this thoughts, all of this lifetime of emotional experience who tried to find each other and couldn't. We know that that's all that happened. She doesn't know that. She's in a life and death battle right now to preserve her sense of identity. If she doesn't hate you, she's afraid she's going to have to hate herself. And she doesn't think she can live with that. And she doesn't know how to go forward with that. When you look at her through that lens, you can feel compassion for her. What a horrible place to be. To think I either have to hate this person I once loved, or I have to hate myself. What an awful, painful place to be in. She's not winning. There's no winning for her. That hatred doesn't feel good to her. It's painful. It's angry. You can look at her and go, wow, she's suffering. This hatred towards me is because she's trapped in her own brain in this lose-lose situation, right? As long as you're blaming somebody for what went wrong in your relationship, nobody's a winner. Either I hate myself or I hate this person I once loved. Both are incredibly painful things to experience. So what you can do is look at your ex and say, wow, that sucks. I'm really sorry she feels that way. You can even say that to her. That's a beautiful thing. When you aren't taking what she says personally, when you know this isn't about you, it has nothing to do with you. This is about her, right? Her hating you is about her trying not to hate herself. Nothing to do with you. So when she says things to you, you can genuinely, compassionately say, wow, I'm really sorry you feel that way. When she was like, you're such an asshole and you totally ruined our marriage, you can say, gosh, I am so sorry that you feel that way. And you can mean it because you are so sorry, because this poor woman, here she is trapped in this impossible situation where there's no good way out. Either she has to hate you or she has to hate herself. And that hurts no matter which way you look. She doesn't know there's this other option, that the truth is neither of you are at fault here. She thinks that there's only two stories she can tell. So you can have compassion for the pain of that situation. I am so sorry you feel that way. When you respond to somebody who hates you with genuine compassion, it can really stymie them. It's hard to hate somebody who's loving you, and not loving you in a desperate, I need you, take me back sense, but like really loving you in a sense, I see that you're in pain and I am so sorry for that. That kind of love, not the kind of love that's like, I want you, I need you, you were everything to me, I can't believe you left. Not that. The kind of love that's just like, wow, I can see how hurt you are right now, and I am so sorry that you are hurting. Notice I'm not saying I'm so sorry I hurt you. You don't have to agree with her. You don't have to condone what she's saying. You don't have to get on her side and say, yeah, gosh, it is all me. No, you just say, wow, you're in pain, and I am so sorry that you feel this way right now. It is hard to hate somebody who is loving you and empathizing with your pain. But you know she's still going to try really hard to hate you because it's really important to her. It's a really important story because her alternative is not good. She could lose herself if she lets go of that story. What about all the other people she's telling? What about your friends? What about your family? What about your children? The way that you combat the spread of that hate is to not take it personally. Practice empathy and compassion towards her. Hold that lens. When you can hold that lens, when you see other people and they relate to you, the angry things she's said, the stories she's told, you can do the same thing. You can say, wow, I can tell she's really hurting right now, and I'm so sorry she feels that way. You can say that to your kids. Yeah, I know your mother said these things about me. She's in a lot of pain right now, and I'm really sorry that she feels that way. It's all you have to say to anybody. That's how you stop the spread of this hatred. You don't let it grow. You don't take it on. You don't take responsibility for it. You have endless love, compassion, and empathy for the pain that she's in. If this is a person that you once shared a life with, this is a person you really cared about. It is sad that she's going through this. But you don't have to make it about you. And don't let anybody else make it about you either. There's a few things that you don't want to do. What you don't want to do is defend yourself. If you get defensive, you're buying into that story that it's me or her. You don't want to blame her. You don't want to point out all the things she did. We can get into this competition almost, especially with a third party. If your kids or if a mutual friend comes and starts telling you all of the things that she's saying about you, it can be really easy to come back and be like, well, yeah, you know what she did? She's such a hypocrite. I can't believe she would say all those things because you're buying into the story that it's you or her. Right? When you start getting defensive and when you start blaming her, you're believing the same story that she is. You're putting yourself into the same trap that she's stuck in. You're saying it's me or her. You're not seeing the truth, right? The me or her, it's so tempting. It's so oversimplified, right? I talk about this a lot in my videos. You guys, there's not good and evil. There's not right and wrong. These are overly simplified human constructs. We like them because they make things feel easier. But guys, life is not simple. Life is not black and white. It's not her fault or your fault. There's not this clear-cut blame. The truth is that you are two humans who have been doing the best you can along the way. And yeah, you've both made mistakes. You haven't communicated clearly. You haven't reached each other. You have responded out of pain, out of hurt, out of the fear of rejection, out of the fear of abandonment based on past experiences, based on deeply ingrained beliefs, based on automatic emotional habits and ways that you've shown up your whole life because you've never learned how to manage effectively your emotional experience and how to create authentic, intimate connection with somebody else and how to be there with somebody else in their pain. Those are things we should all be taught. And those are things that we do not learn. We're left to figure that crap out on our own. It's not your fault. It's not her fault. Of course, we have a hard time. This stuff isn't easy. It takes practice, it takes tools, and it takes support from people who are willing to see you in a way that you can't yet see yourself. I firmly believe that these are things that should be taught in the kindergarten and elementary school, but since they're not, this is the work I'm doing now with my clients, helping them center emotionally, learn to manage effectively the way they feel. From that foundation, connect intimately, authentically, vulnerably with another person, and be there for that other person as a true partner without losing that center, without losing that grounded sense of self, that certainty that becomes your safe home base, that gives you the ability to take risks and chances in your relationships and be vulnerable and reach out and express what you need and what you're afraid of and have real relationships, not these games. Most of us are running around still playing the same games we played in middle school because we've never learned how to have a different kind of relationship. Just because your marriage is over doesn't mean that it's too late to learn those kinds of relationships. You can even transform your relationship with your ex by not playing the game, by not believing that there's only two stories, by looking for other options, by looking for a more realistic explanation of what happened. Let's be honest. It's not that you're bad. It's not that she's bad. It'd be great if it was that simple. Wouldn't it be nice? That'd be so clear cut. We could just get rid of the bad one, keep the good one, and off we go. Life is great. It doesn't happen that way. It's more complicated. We're all human. Stop believing the story. Don't be defensive. Don't play the blame game. Empathize. Love. Meet your partner where they are, even if that's hating you. I'm so sorry you feel that way. That's all you have to say. If you mean it, if you say it with genuine compassion and love, you're going to stop the spread of that hate. Most importantly, you're going to stop it from taking seed inside of you because hatred is uncomfortable. It is a horrible thing to feel. And it is not the person that you hate that feels it. It is you. It is you who has to live with that hatred. Don't buy into this game. Don't play it with her. The only one you're going to hurt is yourself. Much like the only one she's hurting is herself. If you're ready to step out of that blame game, if you're ready to get grounded and centered and come from a place of genuine love, forgiveness, compassion for your ex and into future relationships, book a call with me. Let's talk about working together. I can help you along this journey. Manage those emotions, find real closure and forgiveness, and then learn the skills that you should have been taught as a child, but none of us were. Learn the skills to have a new kind of relationship, an authentic, a vulnerable, an intimate connection with another person without losing yourself along the way. If you found this video helpful, please, please, please subscribe. Help me get the word out. Help me reach more people. That is such an amazing way that you can support me and the work I'm doing here. Please leave a comment as well. I'd love to hear from you guys. And your comments really shape the content that I put out. So I'm listening, I'm looking. Please share with me. All right, guys, I'll see you in the next video.